I attempted a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Omega Ruby using only Pokemon that start with the letter G. That means any species starting with G is fair game, and to be able to get those Pokemon, any earlier evolutions are also fair game. However, if later evolutions don't start with G, those are off limits. The Hardcore Nuzlocke rules are listed here and in the video description. Also, if you're not already subscribed, take 5 seconds to click the subscribe button. Most of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel, so go change that. This is a quick Nuzlocke of Pokemon Omega Ruby using only G Pokemon. Welcome to Hoenn circa 2014, where the Gen 3 Pokemon are chonkier than ever before. I named myself G, and question the logistics of a truck being able to get here despite there being exactly 0 roads. It's time for me to start my journey, and you know what that means. Setting that clock, baby, which is done automatically now. 0 out of 10, no manual clock setting, and too much water. It's time for me to pick my starter, and I only have one choice. That would be Treecko, who evolves into Grovyle. Grovyle is only the middle evolution though, so my little green goblin will never reach his final stage. I name him Geico, and he has a minus speed nature, which is very unfortunate. Despite the minus speed nature, he still likes to run though, so good for you, buddy. I win the first rival battle and officially kick the Nuzlocke off. I don't have to wait very long for my first encounter either, as on Route 102, I can catch a Ralts, who evolves into either Gardevoir or Gallade. This Ralts is female though, so it'll only ever be a Gardevoir. I catch her and give her the name Guardian. I help Wally catch a Ralts so we can be twins, traverse through the Petalburg Woods, and make it to Rustboro City. Here, the only things I care about are picking up the Quick Claw and taking on the first gym leader, Roxanne. I don't get any other G encounters before Roxanne, but that's okay because I have Treecko. With Geico, I can save 15% or more on my HP by using Mega Drain, knocking out Geodude in 2 hits because of its sturdy ability, and knocking out Nosepass in 2 hits. Since crits are only an extra 50% in this game, I'm never at risk. That's a very easy first badge. Next, Geico evolves into his final stage for this challenge, Grovyle. After helping Mr. Briny and doing whatever at the Devoncorp, we sail off for Dewford Town. Now that we have access to the Old Rod, we can get a few more encounters. This includes a Magikarp in Dewford Town and a Goldeen in Petalburg City. Magikarp evolves into Gyarados, and I name her God. She has a jolly nature, which increases speed and decreases special attack, which is excellent. I name my Goldeen Gills, but she can't evolve any further, so her effectiveness will be limited. Also, Guardian has a nature that increases special attack, which is great. Time to take on Brawly, the second gym leader, and his fighting Pokemon. Guardian is well equipped to take this fight, as she has a 4 times resistance to fighting moves. Confusion can't quite knock out Machop though, and it lowers my defense. Brawly heals up, but can't use any more moves before I take out Machop. Next up is Makahita, but I land a crit Confusion to knock it out and get the second gym badge. We have an interesting situation for our next encounter in Granite Cave. There are 2 potential encounters, Zubat, who evolves into Golbat, and Geodude. Both are available elsewhere in the game, so we will end up with both on the team. However, with the Electric Gym coming up, it would be great to have a ground Pokemon. The encounter rate for Zubat is way higher than for Geodude though, so I have about an 89% chance of finding a Zubat first. The probability holds true for me, as I find a Zubat first. I catch her and name her Grotto. Then, God evolves into a Gyarados, and we travel back to the mainland to defeat our rival. Finally, we make it to Mauville City, which is Maulville City now? The main thing to do here is beat the 3rd gym leader, but we can actually get some encounters first. On my way here, I actually used a Super Repel on Route 110. By postponing my encounter on this route, I can go to Route 117 and catch an Oddish, who evolves into Gloom. Then I can go back to Route 110, where Oddish is a duplicate, and catch a Gulpin, who I can only catch on this route. Big brain strats only over here. I name Gulpin Grime, and name Oddish Geranium, who immediately evolves into a Gloom. I had a few of my water Pokemon overlevel before Watson, but that doesn't really change the fact that my team is not set up to do well in this fight. But we push through to take on Watson and his electric Pokemon. I start by putting Magnemite to sleep and switching into Geico. I use Pursuit a few times before Magnemite wakes up and paralyzes me. Magnemite then Volt switches into Magneton, who can resist Geico's moves and does pretty significant damage. I have to switch, but Magneton destroys Guardian. Magneton Volt switches into Voltorb, who knocks out Grotto and goes back to Magneton, who knocks out Geranium, Geico, and Grime. I definitely need a better plan the next time I take on Watson. On attempt 2, I get a Trico with a plus speed nature, who handles Roxanne with ease yet again. Everything goes the same as last time, including finding a Zubat first in Granite Cave. Without Geodude, I need a much better plan for Watson. Time for Brawly, and with my modest-natured Ralts, we should be fine here. I take Machop out in 2 hits again, but find out that a crit from Makahita would have actually killed me. Good to know, but it won't matter this time as I knock Makahita out and get the second badge. This time, I overlevel Geico because I'm just so not used to an experience share that affects everybody. Also, for transparency's sake, I am using infinite rare candies in this challenge, and likely will continue to do this in future challenges. My plan for Watson does not include Geico. The key to this strategy is actually the one you may least expect, using God, the Gyarados. I start by sending out Geranium against Magnemite so that it can put it to sleep. Then, I switch into God. Before this fight, I spent basically all my money to buy the Bulldoze TM. Bulldoze can't kill because of Magnemite's sturdy, and then it wakes up on the first turn it can. Even though I'm paralyzed, I'm still faster than Magnemite because Bulldoze lowered its speed. Next is Voltorb. I'm safe against all of Voltorb's attacks, but I'm hoping it uses Volt Switch. That's because I can tank its attack, Magneton will switch in, and I can one-hit KO without ever taking one of its attacks. Now, with just Voltorb left, I can switch into Geranium and alternate between Sleep Powders and Mega Drains, keeping myself healthy and chipping down Voltorb's health. Because Watson already used a Super Potion on Magnemite, he doesn't here. We can knock out a Voltorb and get the third badge. Grotto evolves into Golbat, and now that I can use Rock Smash, I head to Rutsurf Tunnel to catch a Geodude. So much planning for Watson, just because I couldn't smash any rocks beforehand. I name him Guns N' Roses. I get another encounter in the Fiery Path, a Grimer, who I catch and name Gunk. I continue on my journey through Fall Arbor Town and stop the Team Magma Grunts in Meteor Falls. Guns N' Roses evolves into Graveler in the process. I also take out Maxie with absolutely no problem. On the Jagged Pass, I can catch a Spoink who evolves into Grumpig. I name her Gammon. Back in Lava Ridge Town, it's time to take on Flannery, the 4th gym leader. Flannery starts by sending out a Pokemon whose name I'm not going to say. Please respond to this by leaving me a comment on this video.
Perfect. I tricked them into leaving me a comment on this video. Wait, is this still recording?
God starts with a Bulldoze that knocks out Flannery's Pokemon in 1 hit. Next out is Torkoal, who I try to take out with a few Bulldozes. Torkoal is raising its attack and defense, so Bulldoze might not knock it out here. Then Torkoal paralyzes me and I can't knock it out with Bulldoze. Flannery heals up as I get fully paralyzed. Torkoal is raising its stats even more, ending up at +3 attack and +3 defense. This is scary now, and thankfully Body Slam does not kill God. I send in Gills to do some special attacks, but Torkoal is so strong it knocks it out in 1 hit. I send out Guns N' Roses to do more Bulldozes, since all my special attackers will die to 1 hit from Torkoal. After Sunny Day, Overheat just barely doesn't kill me, but I can use 1 more Bulldoze to knock out Torkoal finally. Last, Flannery sends out Numel, and I take a risk to switch into Geico. Luckily, Numel uses Earth Power. Unluckily, Leaf Blade barely misses the range, and Numel retaliates to knock out Geico. Grotto can come in to finish the fight, but after a very sloppy 4th gym battle, we're down 2 team members. Guardian evolves into her final stage, Gardevoir, and even though we lost 2 team members, the team is still in pretty good shape. It's time to resolve my daddy issues and get the 5th gym badge. Pop sends out Slaking, who only attacks every other turn due to its Truant ability. This is an exploitable weakness, so here's how I attempted to do it. I start by sending out Grime, who's been pre-damaged before the fight. This is to bait an attacking move from Slaking instead of Yawn. Then, I switch into Guns N' Roses, who can take those attacks with ease. Being put to sleep would completely ruin my plan. My plan is to use Dig on Slaking's loafing turns. Since Graveler is slower than Slaking, I couldn't send him out first, because then I'd be above ground on Slaking's attacking turns. Dig doesn't do a ton of damage, but the fact that it only moves every other turn makes it perfect for this fight. Speeding up the fight now as it's a cycle of Slaking loafing, I go underground, Slaking misses an attack, and I hit with Dig. After the third cycle of this process, I make a mistake. I should have anticipated Norman using a Hyper Potion here, which throws off the every other turn loafing. Now Slaking loafs while I'm underground, and it's about to hit me while I'm up. I try to use a single turn move to break the rhythm, but Slaking encores me, so now I'm stuck in the wrong cycle. Worst case scenario, unlocked, as Slaking goes for Yawn. Guns N' Roses is able to get off one more dig before it falls asleep. You may be thinking, why didn't you give it a Chesto Berry for situations like this? I'll explain why a little bit later. Even though sleep is bad, it does give me an opportunity to get back on the right cycle, and I actually wake up just to do that. I'm underground during an attacking turn, and I use Dig to knock out Slaking. Next is Vigoroth, who doesn't have the Truant ability. I stay in since Vigoroth can't do much to me, as it encores me. That's cool though, because Dig will be a 2-hit KO. I take one feint attack, and knock Vigoroth out with a second Dig. Finally, it's the second Slaking, and I've learned my lesson this time. I'm safe to Slaking's attacks, and use a single turn move to get on the right cycle. I'm above ground when Slaking loafs, so we can continue safely using Dig. Quick side note here, I said earlier I didn't want to give a Chesto to Guns N' Roses, and that's because I needed to give him a Lepa Berry. Lepa Berries restore the power points of a move that runs out. Since Dig is critical to this fight and only has 10 PP, I needed to ensure I didn't run out of it. I'm very glad I planned for that too, since I kept getting encored into using more Digs. I'm on the right cycle with Dig now, so I'm able to knock out Slaking with a few more turns. The 5th gym badge is mine. Gammon evolves into Grumpig, and I work my way to Four Tree City. For the first time since probably Brawly, we actually have an easy gym fight. Winona sends out Swellow, and I send out Guns N' Roses. Swellow starts with the double team, and I use Stealth Rock, which will be helpful later in the fight. Aerial Ace does nothing, and I knock out Swellow with just 2 hits from Rock Blast. Next is Pelipper, who's really just more annoying than anything. I switch into God on the incoming Water Pulse, and that's easily tankable. Pelipper is a complete non-threat to God, but it is a little tedious to take it out. After an Aqua Tail doesn't quite kill, Pelipper is actually able to confuse me, which is its only real threat. I switch around to shake off the confusion as Winona heals up, and after a stupidly long process of Pelipper using Roost, I'm finally able to knock it out. Next is Skarmory, and thanks to the Stealth Rock, Aqua Tail will be a 2-hit KO as long as it hits. And thankfully, it does. Finally, we have Altaria, who God can outspeed and 1-hit KO with Ice Fang. More like lose Nona, am I right? It's time for my final encounter of the run, and I actually get to make a choice. In the Safari Zone, I can either get Girafarig or Psyduck, who evolves into Golduck. If given the choice, who do you think you'd pick? To me, there's a lot more potential and utility in selecting Golduck. I already have Psychic types in Gardevoir and Grumpig, and Water Pokemon with the potential to learn Ice moves are really valuable. So I go to the area where only Psyduck can be found, and I catch one, naming him Goose. I make my way to Lily Cove City, and Goose evolves into Golduck. I also think Admin Courtney is stalking me. She keeps trying to get my attention with her camera up, and it's like, girl, chill out. Next is Tate and Liza, who pose the most serious threat to my run so far. The threat of being bored to death. Now you see the power of Golduck. I take out Magma Leader Maxie by one-shotting each one of her Pokemon before the power of Primal Groudon is released. Ba, 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 ba. Bup, 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 bup. So much tubas. Is this a tuba? I am not sure. Groudon. No! Taking on Groudon, for some reason it tries to continue using ground moves against my flying Pokemon. But it, eventually figures it out, and Grotto is lucky to survive. Also, I know Groudon starts with a G, but I'm not gonna catch him. I want this to actually be a challenge. With everything back to normal, we can finally take on the 8th gym. Future ex-champion Wallace sends out Love Disc first. I send out Geranium, who hits through the Attract to knock out Love Disc with 1 Giga Drain. Next is Wallace's ace, Milotic, so I switch into God to take the incoming Ice Beam, as she can take that move. Earthquake will be a 3-hit KO, and nothing Milotic can do can put me at risk. The second Earthquake goes in, as Milotic misses an Ice Beam, and I can knock her out with a final Earthquake. Next is Celio, who God can take out with 2 Earthquakes, and is never at risk to any of its moves. Celio is knocked out, and Whiscash comes in. I want to get Geranium in to do 4 times effective grass damage, but Whiscash knows Zen Headbutt, which it will likely use here instead of Waterfall. So I pivot through Gammon the Grumpig, and Whiscash does use Zen Headbutt, which does nothing to Gammon. Then I can switch in Geranium, and Whiscash uses Earthquake, which is better for me than Zen Headbutt, but worse for me than Waterfall. I decide to risk a crit to stay in, and thankfully it doesn't. Geranium then knocks out Whiscash, and gets most of its health back. I feel like I always say this, but in hindsight, it would have been better to sack Grimer there, so Geranium could have a safe switch in. Finally, Seaking comes out, and Seaking just sets up Rain Dance. But Giga Drain, unfortunately, doesn't hit the range to kill. It doesn't matter though, because Wallace heals up, and this time, Giga Drain does hit the range to give us the 8th gym badge. Finally, we get to Evergrande City, through Victory Road, and into the Pokemon League. After planning and prepping the team, we are ready to take on the Elite Four. As a note, I used PK Hex to do some time-saving measures, such as adding in an item and edging EXP, but everything I did was purely as a time-saving measure and could have been done anyway. Here's the team for the final challenge. Starting off, we have Guardian the Gardevoir. With a modest nature, she has a devastating special attack stat and has 2 stab attacking moves, as well as a setup move in Calm Mind and a defensive move in Reflect. Next, we have Goose the Golduck. He's a well-rounded special attacker with 3 special attacking moves and a setup move. We also have Guns N' Roses the Graveler, who is our tank for physical attacks. He has some damaging moves as well as Explosion, just in case. Fourth, we have Geranium the Gloom, who can't evolve into Vileplume or Blossom for this challenge. Geranium is primarily a Toxic Staller, with Toxic, Protect, Moonlight, and 1 attacking move. Next is Grotto the Golbat, who can't evolve into Crobat, and her setup is pretty much exactly the same as Geranium's. Grotto is extremely fast though, so that could provide some utility. And finally, we have God the Gyarados. God does have a minus attack nature, but still, Gyarados is really good. God can sweep this entire Elite Four using Dragon Dance setup strats, but watching a Gyarados sweep through 25 Pokemon just isn't good content. So for that reason, I've challenged myself to only use God when absolutely necessary. Can I beat the Elite Four and champion of Omega Ruby using only G Pokemon? Let's find out. First, we'll be taking on Sydney and his Dark-type Pokemon. Sydney sends out Mightyena to start, and I send out Guardian. A Psychic type against Dark types may feel wrong, but Guardian's dual Fairy type makes it extremely clutch for this fight. Not to spoil this fight, but Guardian can outspeed and one-hit KO each of Sydney's Pokemon. However, there are 3 Pokemon with priority moves, so this fight is all about health management. The first is Mightyena's Sucker Punch, but it doesn't use it, so Guardian can knock out Mightyena with 1 Dazzling Gleam. Next is Sharpedo, who also knows a priority move in Aqua Jet, but it doesn't use it, so Guardian can, again, one-hit KO. Next is Shiftry, who knows the 3rd priority move, Fake Out. Shiftry actually uses it, but who cares? Guardian will just go first and knock out Shiftry in 1 hit. Fourth is Absol, who Guardian can safely knock out. Fifth is Cacturne, who technically also knows a priority move in Spiky Shield. However, Dazzling Gleam doesn't make contact, so Spiky Shield is essentially Protect. Then, on the next turn, Guardian can use Dazzling Gleam to knock out Cacturne and give us the first victory over the Elite Four. Second, we have Phoebe and her Ghost-type Pokemon. Once again, even though it feels wrong, Gardevoir is the ace for this fight. Guardian can sweep this fight again, but only after using 1 Calm Mind. So Guardian raises her special attack and special defense, and I'm expecting a Confuse Ray, but Dusclops uses Shadow Punch. A bit unexpected, but not a big deal. Guardian can knock out Dusclops with 1 Psychic. Next is Banette, who Guardian can also kill with 1 Psychic, and then a second Banette who meets a similar fate, as well as Sableye, who Guardian takes out with 1 Dazzling Gleam. Finally, we have Dusknoir, who is the reason we needed to Calm Mind in the first place. One Psychic takes out Dusknoir, and Phoebe is defeated. Third, we take on Glacia and her Ice-type Pokemon. It's time for Guardian to take a back seat, as this is Goose's fight. Goose is resistant to Ice-type attacks, and he can do a setup of his own. Goose has the Mind Plate to increase Psychic-type attacks. However, he still needs to get to +4 special attack to sweep this fight, and Glalie is the perfect Pokemon to set up on. Glacia decides to go for a Hail, which normally would be a big deal for Pokemon trying to set up. However, Goose has the Cloud 9 ability, so he's not affected by any of the weather even though it stays up. Goose gets to +2, and Glacia goes for a Light Screen. I need to keep track of the Light Screen, but right now my primary goal is to get to +4. I get to +3, and Glacia goes for a Hail again, and then she does it again after I get to +4. I'm kind of baffled by the AI here, but I'm not complaining about it. I've reached the +4 special attack I need to sweep, but Light Screen is still up. If I go for the kill here and Walrein comes out next, I won't be able to kill it, and that could lead to some disastrous situations. So I need to wait for Light Screen to run out, and I might as well keep getting stronger, especially when Glacia is doing nothing. I go up to +6 special attack and special defense, and now that the Hail is stopped, Glacia uses Crunch. Sure, that makes sense. Light Screen wears off, and I can finally start my sweep. Goose takes out Glalie with a Surf, Walrein with an unnecessary crit Psychic, Frostless number 1 with an unnecessary crit Surf, Frostless number 2 with a Surf, and Glalie number 2 with a Surf. This Elite Four sweep is brought to you by Calm Mind. Fourth, we have Drake and his dragon Pokemon. Drake starts off with Altaria, and I send out Goose. No setup moves should be needed for this fight. With Ice Beam, Goose can outspeed and one-hit KO Altaria. Goose can do the exact same thing to Flygon, and to Salamence, and to the second Flygon. Finally, Drake sends out Kingdra, the one Pokemon that Goose can't take out. I switch into Guardian, who takes a Yawn, which doesn't matter at all, because Guardian can knock out Kingdra with one Dazzling Gleam. I had all of these contingencies planned, assuming that Kingdra would have come out earlier, and I would need to switch back to Goose, and Drake just sent Kingdra out last. I'm just, so confused about what the AI is doing in this Elite Four run. But we're on to the champion. Time to face off against our old pal, Steven Stone. In order to honor Mr. Stone, I send out my Mr. Stone. Guns N' Roses' job is to set up Stealth Rock, as Skarmory puts down a layer of spikes. Guns N' Roses gets the pointed stones in the air, which will be essential for later in the battle. I really need my next Pokemon to be as healthy as possible, so now Guns N' Roses' job is, unfortunately, to die. I decide not to use Explosion yet since Skarmory can't kill me, but unfortunately I miss with Stone Edge. I try for another Stone Edge, but after Skarmory puts down another layer of spikes, I need to get the show on the road. So, Guns N' Roses goes boom, and provides a safe switch to the Pokemon that can actually take out Skarmory, Goose. After the damage from Guns N' Roses and holding a Splash Plate, Goose can knock out Skarmory. Next, Steven sends out Cradily, who is the Pokemon I least wanted to see. Goose can't one-hit KO Cradily, and there's a lot that can happen in Cradily's attacking turn. For now, Goose is safe, so I use Ice Beam. Ice Beam will be a 2-hit KO, and Cradily retaliates with a Confuse Ray. I will be taking absolutely 0 chances with Confusion RNG, so I switch into Geranium, purely to sack her so Goose can shake off the confusion. Steven heals up, so now Geranium's job is to do as much damage as possible. I can do that by Toxicking Cradily, and she retaliates with a Confuse Ray. Unfortunately, I hit myself in confusion as Cradily goes for Ancient Power, and gets the Omni Boost. Just lovely. I'm able to stall for 1 turn, but eventually Cradily knocks me out with an Ancient Power, but luckily doesn't get a second Omni Boost. I send Goose back out, and with Cradily at low health, Goose should be able to knock it out. However, because of the Omni Boost, I'm not sure if it will. I'm still safe to everything though, so I go for the Ice Beam, and it doesn't hit the range. And of course, Cradily goes for Confuse Ray again. Cradily is knocked out by toxic poison, but because I'm confused, the optimal play is to switch into another Pokemon that I don't need, sack them, and switch back in. Aggron is the reason I needed to set up a Stealth Rock at the beginning of the fight, because of, you guessed it, Sturdy. With Sturdy broken, Goose can knock it out with one Surf. Next is Claydol, who Goose can outspeed and one-hit KO with Surf, and Armaldo, who is also outsped and OHKO by Goose. That just leaves one Pokemon, Metagross. Or should I say, Mega Metagross. Goose will die to anything, so he does good damage with Surf, but then is knocked out by Mega Metagross. Also, you may be wondering how Goose outsped Mega Metagross. Well, I learned on a previous video that on the turn a Pokemon turns into its Mega Evolution, it uses the original Pokemon speed stat and not the Mega Evolution speed stat. I guess this is because the game checks the speed stats and determines who goes first before the move actually starts. Just a fun Gen 6 fact that I learned in the comments of my last Gen 6 video. Anyways, Mega Metagross could have killed Goose with a number of different moves. The fact that it chose Giga Impact is so good for me, because Mega Metagross will be resting on its next turn. So, I'll get one chance to move before this monster attacks me. It's finally time to unleash God. Earthquake looks like a range to kill Mega Metagross right now, but I have a way to not play the range game. On its recharge turn, I use Dragon Dance, increasing both my attack and speed. Now, I can outspeed Mega Metagross, and Earthquake will always kill from this range. And just like that, we've defeated the champion. Our Hardcore Nuzlocke challenge is successful. Thanks to everybody for watching this playthrough. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me if you liked it, left a comment, or subscribed to the channel if you're not already. I've done this challenge with Pokemon starting with A through F, so I recommend you check those videos out too. I'll go ahead and put one in the card. Go ahead and click that one if you want to watch me murder a bunch of Charmanders. I'm also planning to put out a Hardcore Nuzlocke video of the new Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl games, so look out for those videos after the game comes out. This has been a quick Nuzlocke of Pokemon Omega Ruby using only G Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching.